Nation. Joining us right now on the New Hampshire Now program is Alex Wilkes. She is the Senior Vice President of America Rising and joins us right now on the New Hampshire Now program. Alex, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Awesome. Appreciate you joining us for the show. Let's talk about the Democratic presidential field. And we're seeing in recent polling here in New Hampshire, in my view, it being established that Joe Biden is the front runner, and that also being shown in national polling as well, which, as we know, here in New Hampshire does not mean all that much. What Iowa and New Hampshire does means a lot, and the polling here, and as well as in South Carolina, Nevada, and some of the Super Tuesday states is what to look at rather than national polls. But do you see a field developing where Joe Biden is the clear front runner?
Well, look, I think that at this point in the game, that the poll numbers suggest that Joe Biden has sort of a running start. We knew that from the beginning because he has great name ID, obviously, as the vice president for the most recent Democratic president. He has incredible sort of stature in the field and standing. That being said, though, I really do think that those numbers for him have a little bit of a ceiling. So he has sort of only one way to go, which is down, whereas I think that other contenders in the field that, as you say, states like Iowa and New Hampshire, famously want to sort of vet all of these candidates on their own terms, on their own timeline. They have a real chance of sort of advancing as this process plays out. So I think it's a little bit early. Joe Biden obviously has a running start, but as I said, with the field being so wide and with our state of politics right now being just so chaotic, I wouldn't bet on Joe Biden necessarily being the nominee.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what we're betting. I mean, I wouldn't bet a lot of money on Joe Biden being the nominee, but at this point in time, given the fact that there is a dynamic existing where Joe Biden represents a moderate Democratic candidate in a time where the other candidates are kind of racing to the left, the independent and pragmatic Democratic voter, I think, doesn't have a lot of choices in this race. So Joe Biden fills that gap. What you're referencing in regards to his support is a soft support. Bernie Sanders' support is one where he is going to be solidly 15 to 25% here in New Hampshire, and his voters are not leaving come hell or high water. Joe Biden's voters are more pragmatic. They're not as enthusiastic. They look at things from a much more strategical sense. But what Biden has going for him, which is not going to change, is name ID and the fact that he represents what I still think is the majority of Democratic voters' feeling and philosophy in regards to working with others, not being a party of socialists, but a party of government being used to help and advance the causes of others, but not in a sense where it is defined as socialism. So Biden, to me, again, in a field of now 21 candidates, is an individual that it's going to be very difficult to bet against, in my view.
Sure, but I think that his performance over the next couple of months is it is important to watch. And what we know to be true about Joe Biden in 2019 is that he's very much trying to shed the Joe Biden of the past. The week of his launch, he started apologizing for Anita Hill. He started off his campaign with the allegations of non-consensual touching from different individuals in the party. And I think that, he's going to spend a lot of time apologizing, whether that's for the crime bill in the 90s or eulogizing a figure like Strom Thurmond. For Democratic primary voters who are, of course, not as, sort of pragmatic as maybe the more general voting population, these are real, sticking points with them right now. This is a younger primary voting base that doesn't that has different values than in the past. And I think that for Joe Biden, he sort of represents, he represents what, the past is for the Democratic Party and not the future. I think that the future for the Democratic Party, unfortunately, is a radical leftist future where we're embracing more socialist ideas. And I think that, Bernie Sanders played a huge part in that in 2016 by introducing a lot of those ideas into the mix. So much so that his now rivals in the Democratic Party all raced to embrace those ideas right out of the gate when they started running for president.
Yeah, I think that, again, the excitement and energy is with that aspect of the party. That's where the loudest voices are. Same thing has happened in the Republican Party. The voter, voters generally show up in extremely large numbers at 65 plus. And that is a group that, remembers John F. Kennedy and is a group of individuals that is more of your working class Democratic voter. And certainly there's a lot of progressives and individuals that, have fought for progressive causes for a long period of time that are in that age bracket as well. But generally speaking, the age that Joe Biden is where the age where a lot of voters are, and he speaks a certain way. And there is a feeling and philosophy among those folks and amongst individuals that are independents here in New Hampshire, which makes up the largest swath of voters, undeclared voters, that want to see things that, taken from a bipartisan perspective. They want to see things accomplished. And the way that Biden speaks shows that. And I think that, again, the energy may be with, at this point in time, may be with the progressive and socialist aspect of the Democratic Party, but that's also where 17 of the 21 candidates are. And so even Amy Klobuchar, who's viewed as being a moderate, said that she is one of the strongest progressives in this race when asked about it yesterday. So Joe Biden, Seth Moulton, John Delaney, John Hickenlooper, those are the folks in this race that are speaking to the middle and to independents. And Klobuchar is trying to do that as well. But that is only, 5 individuals out of 21. And the others are vying with Bernie Sanders. And certainly we're going to see candidates rise and fall. We're going to see, we've seen Pete Buttigieg already rise. We're going to see, Cory Booker and Kirsten Gillibrand and Kamala Harris have surges and perhaps get close to the nomination. But what's also going to be interesting is the debates, and do the candidates spend time focusing on each other and those who are vying for a certain path, or are they going to focus on Joe Biden?
Yeah, I mean, there's the old saying that Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. As I mentioned before, I really do think that the support for Joe Biden is at its ceiling. This is where, he's kind of starting out. Whereas at this point early in the game, there's a lot of opportunity for these other candidates to move up. And someone like a Pete Buttigieg is a good example of someone who has recently been able to capture the attention of Democratic primary voters or caucus goers in a powerful way. And I think that, there's just too much time left to say with certainty that this is how the field will remain for until the voting starts. I think that there's a lot of room for fluctuation, and while people sort of might be going with Joe Biden as a default, there's a lot of opportunity through visits to these early voting states and the debate for someone to really break out. I think that a good example of this, thinking at the Republican primary field in 2016, for example, is that we saw a figure like Jeb Bush who held on to that front-runner position for a very long time. And who could have predicted that out of that field would emerge a figure like Donald Trump, who had, was polling in single digits from, the beginning of that. And so I think that our state of politics right now is such that it would be, I certainly wouldn't, bet on anything being a sure thing this far out.
Well, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us for the program, Alex, and we'll talk to you again at some point in the future.
Great. Thanks for having me.
This is New Hampshire Now, 109-1450 and NHTalkRadio.com. I am Chris Ryan. That was Alex Wilkes joining us, Senior Vice President from America Rising.